All right, before we start today, I just got to remind you, June 11th, we are having the Chopperhead 21st anniversary party, and that's Saturday, June 11th. We're doing the pre-party here at Chopperhead Custom Cycles at 4 o'clock, and then we were going to do a ride over to the venue, which is probably only 15 minutes away. It's not a big ride, 20 minutes, and we're doing the main show over at The Vault in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and we got Murphy's Law playing, we got Lenny Lashley playing and performing, we got Cinder Block, and we got some special guests, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but you'll be remiss if you don't make it over there. So we're going to celebrate 21 years in business. Come hang out with us and have a good time. And if you want to get advance tickets, you can go to vaultnb.com, VAULTNB.com, and you can get advance tickets there. They're actually $5 cheaper than day of the show. It's $20 day of the show, $15 if you get it in advance. If you are into motorcycling and motorbiking and building bikes and customizing bikes and choppers and cafe races, whatever you're into, you need to check out chopcult.com, the biggest information resource on the internet for all kinds of different aspects of motorcycling. Online message boards. They got an online swap meet where you can buy, sell, and trade parts. They got a events page where you can see motorcycle-related events all across the world, broken up by date and region and state and wherever. But yeah, and the coolest thing is it's absolutely free. They don't ask you a credit card, none of that stuff. Just sign up over at chopcult.com. And on all their social medias, simply at chopcult. Give them a follow. If you need motorcycle parts or apparel, you need to check out Old Bike Barn over at oldbikebarn.com, and on Instagram at Old Bike Barn, and all the social medias simply at Old Bike Barn. They got a full line of motorcycle parts for your custom, your stock bike, your chopper, your cafe racer, whatever it is. And especially they specialize in parts for Japanese motorcycles. So we get hit up all the time, and there's a lot of stuff like that we don't have in stock. If people want stuff for their XS 650 or something, we go hit up Bear and Company over at oldbikebarn.com. They probably got what you need, and if they don't, they know where to get it. They also have their own line of motorcycle apparel and knives under the White Knuckler brand, and it's a homemade, all U.S.-made leather apparel and knives and whatnot. Really good shit, so check them out, oldbikebarn.com. If you happen to be in the unfortunate situation where you find yourself in a motorcycle accident, you need to check out Law Tigers over at lawtigers.com, or go to Facebook and type in Law Tigers and your state so that you can get in touch with the local office. Law Tigers is a motorcycle law firm founded by riders for riders, and they specialize solely in motorcycle accident cases. So I hope you never need them, but if you happen to be in that unfortunate situation, then you got a resource there. Now, I just did a full weekend of activities. I'm still healing my hand from a hand surgery 2 weeks ago. I still got a arthritic shoulder from weightlifting accident and whatnot. So sometimes I have a hard time sleeping. And the motherfuckers over at Cradle Lake Clear got my back. They make super potent but super clean CBD oil. So whether you have anxiety or aches and pains or inflammation or, just, general insomnia or whatever, don't mess around with fucking, bodega CBDs that are garbage. Go to cradlelakeclear.com and check them out. Really pure stuff. They go through their whole process of how, they make their CBD on their website. Check them out, cradlelakeclear.com. If you use the promo code Big Truth at checkout, you get 20% off your order. Now, similarly, if your pets are experiencing issues with inflammation or, they're little nervous kind of animals, Freya can be a little nippy or skittish. And Grim, my boy Grim, my German Shepherd, he's got some neuropathy going on in his rear legs from a back accident. He jumped really high and fell and dislodged something. But anyway, long story short, if your pet needs CBD oil, you need to check out vetcs.com. Super high end. Like literally super high-end stuff, the best out there on the market, and they're made specifically for your vet. They have canine, dog stuff, they got cat stuff, and they even got horse CBD oil. So if your horse needs some CBD, VetCS is where you go. And check out their website. It's founded by a vet and a veterinary tech out in Colorado. Only the purest stuff. Go check their webpage out, vetcs.com, and you can see their process as well. You know, any good or legitimate company that is manufacturing CBD oil should walk you through their process. Like I said, don't go buy some bullshit at the store. Like, you know what I mean? If you can get it at fucking 7-Eleven, you don't want it. All right. And also, if you use the promo code Big Truth over at VetCS, you will get a percentage off your order there as well. So save some money. Check it out. If you're looking for clothing, summer's here. You need some tank tops. You need some new T-shirts or fucking socks or some bullshit. Check out Omerta at omertamia.com. The best clothing company there is out there. The most legitimate, bona fide, real deal streetwear company. Check them out. Omertamia.com, OMERTAMIA.com. And, you know, on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, simply at Omertamia. If you use the promo code Big Truth at checkout, you get 20% off your order there. Now, similarly, all right, say you're still looking for some clothing, but you're a little off kilter, you know what I mean? You know, you're into the dark arts or something, or you're into, you know, like occult stuff or serial killers, or you know, you're playing Black Sabbath records backwards or some shit. But you're also into like 70s show vans, boogie van stuff, like psychedelia, you know, I don't know, stoner, doom metal, things like that. Then Heavy is the way you want to go. Heavy.bigcartel.com is their website, and on Instagram at Heavy Clothing. My man Zach Dune's company. You need to check them out. Really top-notch shit. Clothing and nefarious items. So you check them out over there. And if you use the promo code FTW at checkout, you get a percentage off your order as well. If you're still looking for even more clothing, go check out Pitchfork at pitchforkny.com. They are a clothing company that, you know, they're the shit all your favorite bands wears, but they're also a record label. And they just put out a New York hardcore 12-inch compilation that you should check out. And they had a whole line of 7 inches that had an East Coast band on one side and a West Coast band on the other. Bands like, excuse me, Sick of It All, Murphy's Law, Rancid, a whole cadre of bands that you would like. So check them out, pitchforkny.com. If you are still looking for more motorcycle parts and apparel and whatnot, support Chopperhead, my motorcycle shop. It's a full service brick and mortar motorcycle shop. You know, it's not just we're not operating out of a storage unit or a basement or some shit like that. It's not a clothing or a lifestyle company, although we do have plenty of swag and apparel for you motherfuckers out there. So check us out, chopperhead.com, CHOPPAHEAD.com. On Instagram is at Chopperhead. On Facebook, it's Chopperhead Customs with a K. And we have a full line. We make parts, we sell parts, we carry pretty much any kind of part you want. We got it. If we don't have it in stock, we can get it. So give us a call, visit the website, or shoot us an email if there's something not on the site that you want. And mention you heard it on the podcast. I'll give you a good discount. All right. So chopperhead.com for that. And if you are still interested in supporting this show, check out patreon.com. If you go to patreon.com/bigtruth, that's a way for listeners to be able to financially support the show. There's 4 different tiers of membership there, or patronage there, and they all come with their own exclusive benefits and whatnot. And I got some big plans this year. We're going to do some live streams just for the Patreon subscribers. We got some stuff in the works. I'm working on some technology right now. I'm a little technology deficient when it comes into that world of streaming and whatnot, but I'm trying to catch up, right? And my Patreon subscribers are the coolest motherfuckers around because they help this show continue to go and grow. And you can jump on board. There's plenty of room, so come on down. And there's exclusive discounts with Chopperhead and stuff and everything there. And you know, I know some people have taken advantage of that more than others. And shout out to Jake Richards. I mean, I'm sending that dude parts all the time for his Dyna, you know. So check it out, patreon.com/bigtruth. And last but not least, if you go to bigtruthpodcast.com, you can get more information on the show. All the episodes are up there. one final call to action for you guys. If you could, leave a review wherever you listen to this, whether it's on Apple or Spotify or wherever. Leave a review, leave stars. But, if there's a place for you to type up a review, I super appreciate it. Like on Apple, if you give us a 5-star review from here on out, I'll give you a shout out on the show, just as a token of appreciation. Spread the word, tell your friends, family, whoever you think might be interested in this podcast. Anything we can do to keep this show getting out there and get out to more people, more ears, more reach helps us all. Because I can do radder shit if we can get out there a little bit more. So, bigtruthpodcast.com. So that's it for now. Keep it locked. Here we go.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. And just again, I want to remind you, if you don't know about it already, June 11th, we're having the Chopperhead 21st anniversary party. So make sure you get over there. You can find out more information about that on the Chopperhead webpage. Or the Instagram page or the Facebook. Just look up Chopperhead on Instagram. We got more information there. Advanced tickets available at vaultnb.com. All right, and today I want to introduce my guest, who's Lori Dawn from Lori Dawn Ceramics, but also an organization called Women in the Pit. What's happening? Of the pit. I knew it was of the pit, and as I was saying it, I was like, I knew I was going to fuck it up. I've already explained to you off mic the day so far, so forgive me a little bit of misspeaking here. But Women of the Pit. So what's up? What's happening?
Thank you very much.
I know you had an exciting day getting down here.
I did. I had an exciting day getting out here. I saw a truck on fire, a car in a ditch, but I somehow made it safe. So. Yeah.
I dropped the bike, almost got in a motorcycle accident. It's been one of those days.
A lot of mishaps.
Yeah. So let's do a podcast and see how bad we can fuck this up.
Let's go.
So tell me a little bit about for people that might not be familiar. Talk a little bit about what the organization Women of the Pit is and what you guys do.
So Women of the Pit was kind of born out of the whole pandemic thing. The idea behind it was to connect the women in the scene. I could start back from the beginning. I was, a thrash metal kid, got into hardcore when I was a teen, and then married somebody who, wasn't into hardcore and stuff like that. You kind of grow up, you stop going to shows, and then, I moved around quite a bit. So when I started wanting to go to shows again, I just didn't have anybody to go with.
Okay.
So
when you're coming back from a hiatus.
Yeah, came back from a hiatus, and that happens to it happens to a lot of women actually. You get married, you start having kids and stuff, and you don't have the energy to go out and go to shows and stuff like that. So. Starting to get back into it, and I moved around quite a bit, so when I was home in New York, it was easy, I'd get together with my friends, see what shows were going on, but, when I was over in England or Montreal or, Cape Cod, wherever else I was moving around, there was nobody, and it's kind of intimidating walking in, by yourself.
Sure.
Especially I have a little bit of social anxiety and stuff going on, I'm always like, what do I do with my arms, so, yeah.
You should write a blog post on that. What do I do with my arms?
What do I do with my arms? Yeah,
just go.
I'll tell you, you put them in your pocket. You kind of like do the cross arm or Tisha thing, I like to kind of keep them close.
Or do the side by side wars.
There's all kinds of things. Like the hip thing is kind of hard to do at a hardcore show because like people are always knocking into your elbows and stuff. Yeah. So, so. But, when we were all locked down and, had nothing to do but think, Drew Stone started that podcast, New York Hardcore Chronicles, and a bunch of us met in the chat room, and it kind of became our social outreach when we were all going nuts,
Sure, yeah.
And a few of the ladies met in there. I met a lady named Daisha, and because of her life situation and things, she kind of dropped out of the scene as well. So we were like, why don't we just like put something up and see if we can start a Facebook page where people can just link up, go to shows. I, of course, being an artist, I wanted to maybe connect with other, punk rock, hardcore artists and stuff. So, we just started this little thing, and it exploded very quickly, not only for people, looking for other people to go to shows with, but, some of the people that have always been part of the scene, some pretty cool ladies, joined, like Daniela Page and, Nancy Burrell. So we were just kind of blown away by the response, actually. When we started, we started just kind of like sharing businesses and photos and stories and experiences. And it was a private page, because we just wanted to keep the boys out.
Sure.
But then we thought, this is kind of cool. We should start to highlight some of this stuff. So we started the Instagram page, and it kind of blew up from there, And the Instagram page, if you look at it, we try to highlight like everybody, not just like musicians and things like that. We try to get, photographers and fans and, just anybody who is, part of this crazy community that we have.
Sure, and it's just continuing with the whole DIY ethic of things.
Yes, exactly. So
it started from a few you talking on the message board, on Drew's message board.
Basically.
Yeah, and then kind of getting it. So where, I know you said it kind of blew up. So originally, was it just a few of you from like the Northeast, or was it like people?
It was just like a few of us. Because, like the way Facebook pages work, you invite your friends.
Yeah.
So, you're inviting like everybody on your friend list on Facebook. So, and then it just kind of mushroomed out, you know. So we really have ladies from around the globe in it.
Yeah, I was just how long did it take from it just to go from, some your friends, people or friends of friends, to like blossom out to people out? It quickly
blossomed out. So Facebook, I think, the logistics of Facebook, I think people are kind of moving away from it.
Yeah.
So on the Facebook page, we have about 800 ladies in the private group.
Yeah.
But on the IG page, we have about 3,200 right now. So it's pretty cool. It's becoming a thing. It's becoming a recognizable thing where people are reaching out, bands are reaching out. People are wanting to, kind of do things with us and celebrate, kind of like the women in the scene. So it's kind of a nice response.
Sure. And, outside of just having, like the social media presence, what are some of the things you guys do? I know, like I've seen you, your organization like set up like doing some like charity stuff at shows and whatnot before.
Yeah.
Or like
So
what types of things are you guys doing?
Yeah. So we, I always was kind of like a do unto others type of person, So when we started talking about, people were asking for T-shirts and merch and stuff like that, and I just thought, well, like I kind of don't want to turn it into like a commercialized thing, So but I was like, it would be kind of cool if we did something that we raise money for charity. So we originally, we were talking with like Nancy Burrell, and she had just written a book, I'm Not Holding Your Coat, and we all, it resonated with a lot of us. A lot of us read it, and we were really interested in her story. And so I thought, hey, Nancy, have you thought about doing merch? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And I said, well, how about doing a collaboration with us, and we can, give the money to whatever charity you want. So we made it like a group project. We reached out to the ladies in the group. We found an artist from California, this woman named Casey, who is, she's at Chickeny Butts on Instagram. Okay. She does some really great graphics, and she did the graphic for our shirt. And then Randy Joe, Randy Joe.
Yep.
She did the typography. Kate 108 did the printing of the T-shirt. And then we just decided that we were going to give it the money to a scholarship at Nancy Burrell's high school. So that's how that charity thing was born.
Sure.
And then we did a shirt that was just, specific to us. So again, we got an artist.
Gang shirt.
Yeah, basically.
Gang colors.
Yeah. We try to stay away from that language, but
I'm just playing. Everyone knows I'm a smart ass. Yeah,
I'm too small.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we got another artist, Hannah Blue, from I think she's from Canada, and she did the graphic for us. We always like that hand grenade. Theme and stuff. And, so that's our T-shirt that they're doing now. We've got like windbreakers. We've got an Etsy shop. And we hooked up with One Simple Wish, that is a charity that grants wishes to children in the foster care system.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
That's rad.
So we like doing stuff like that, And, we just like to just kind of make our presence known. If anybody is at a show and they're feeling like anxiety, or if they're by themselves, we're there. Just come up and say hello.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that. But for years, I had to like learn that, and I learned it the hard way because I tried just going by myself and using like coping methods. Like, I'm just going to stand in this corner here and think about what I'm doing with my arms, or, Yeah. So you often, a couple of years ago, I was just going to shows by myself. And
now, was that anxiety always there? Because I know you got into stuff a long time ago. You were going to shows, and then there was a hiatus. Did that anxiety exist before the hiatus, or only after you started coming back?
It actually existed before the hiatus, but I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
Like, the first time I ever had a panic attack at a show was like at a Slayer show at Lemore's. So, I mean, you have kids jumping all over the place, people are bleeding, and blah, blah, blah. And like, then, you got like, Slayer on stage. So I just thought, I was like, oh my God, am I becoming possessed? Like, what's going on?
I've never
What's
been.
happening?
I get it. Like, not so much with Slayer, like, but like the first time, like I've never I like At the Gates, right?
Okay.
So I went to go see At the Gates, but they opened for Behemoth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'd never been to a Behemoth show, and I left that feeling dirty. I was like, "Oh man, like, do I gotta
I think I
put
have to
sage around myself? What the fuck was I just at?" I felt like I was at like a massive satanic ritual. But like, the weird thing about that, it was the same thing. I was like, "The fuck is going?" I'm like a hardcore kid, and I'm at this thing, and I'm like, "The fuck is going on here?" You forget what level of pageantry, like some level of like death metal or black metal, like the pageantry these motherfuckers have. I had to give it to them. I'm like, that was a show.
Yeah,
like I was like, man,
absolutely.
I just saw some shit, right?
Yeah,
And I was never that big of a Behemoth fan. Then after it, I kind of understood. Like when I heard their music more, I was like, oh yeah. It was one of those bands like I didn't really care for beforehand. Then you see them live, and then you're like, oh yeah. But,
no, totally. Like that heavy metal. Like, I mean, and the thing is, I grew up listening to heavy metal.
Yeah.
I got into Black Sabbath by listening to Black Sabbath,
Sure,
which is like the scariest. Like when you're like 11 years old, like that song will make you shit your pants.
Yeah.
So like I grew up listening to that dark stuff, and I did like it, but then like you wonder, like, oh, I wonder why I had these anxiety problems. It was not helping.
No,
for sure.
I mean, it's weird, right? Because like when did you start? When did you first start? I want to hear more about your background, but before we get into the whole story, like when did you first start going to like hardcore, like punk shows? Like, because they're a little different than metal shows, but like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like probably when so the first show that I went to was the Cro-Mag show. They played with Anthrax.
Okay.
So I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. It was just, there was something so raw and so stripped down about it. I just love this, like, I guess the simplicity of it, and also the energy of it, the way that people were dancing and things like that. So I was just totally drawn in. Age of Quarrel.
Sure.
And then like, I mean, I think that's, I sound so repetitive because this is so many people's story. And it's like, oh yeah, agnostic front, between pain, blah, 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 you get into it. I was into a lot of those like crossover bands too. I loved, Crumbsuckers and Ludachrist and Leeway. Those were really big on, like Long Island and stuff. So,
is that where you're originally from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Originally from Long Island.
The only reason why I ask is because like I can see, I never had like anxiety at a show, but I remember when I was a kid first going to shows. My first show, I was 13. It was the summer between my eighth grade and my freshman year of high school, and it was I've said it before, but it was Suicidal when they only had the first record out in Jerry's Kids, and it was before crossover really started. So I just remember Suicidal saying, "Oh, we're gonna play a new song at the new record, Join the Army," and people were like, "What the fuck is this?" and start throwing shit at them.
Yeah,
Being like, "Fuck this! What the fuck is that?" But anyway, because everyone was like, back then it was all about fast. But I remember like early shows, like being like walking in and being like, I don't know, anxiety, but like a nervousness, especially back then, because I feel like shows back in the day, not being old guy or whatever, but they were a little more. It was a little rawer.
They were
a little more of an edge. They
were rough.
They were rough,
yeah.
and it was like, the fuck is going on here? And I think you have a choice at one point. It's like, all right, you're in it and you're not. And and no matter what, even if like you're still anxiety and like you said, kind of in the corner, figuring out how to cope, but like you didn't leave.
Yeah.
Something kept you there.
Yeah.
And you find it's like no matter how crazy and violent it looked, like if you spent your time in. You started making friends, and it's unavoidable. Someone's going to talk to you at some point, and then like you get drawn in, and it's like,
it's almost like this like euphoric high after it's over too. You're like, I lived.
Yeah.
I lived. Let's go get pizza.
Yeah.
I remember just feeling like this huge relief after every show, feling like
you made it
over.
Through. Yeah.
It's over. When are we doing this again?
Yeah.
So, but you're right. It's like, I guess, I'm not alone in that, it's like, but when you're going through it, you feel like you're absolutely all alone in it. So, yeah.
But, and it's, I can't put myself in your shoes. I can't, I'm not a girl. I don't know, but I can imagine that there's an even different level of kind of weirdness.
There's a couple of different levels.
There's a few levels,
like,
but going in as a kid was a different level of anxiety with a 13-year-old. And then I was like, I remember I went with two of my friends, and one passed away last year, and one I'm still in contact with. He just came by the shop the other day. And he was a littler guy. And I remember he was sitting on the bar saying, he was sitting on the bar. He's like, I'm not leaving. He's like, I'm staying here.
Right.
And I just remember looking back at him and seeing the pit and going, fuck it. I'm here, try it, right? And then going in and getting pummeled by dudes that were like 17, 18, 19, 20, and a 13-year-old kid. And it was like, it wasn't like no one was trying to get you, but people weren't also trying to avoid you back then. It was just like, you're here, all right, you're in. You signed up, here we go. And so, it was like a little baptism by fire right there. But so it's like, there's a choice. You're like, all right, something kicks in, I feel like, and it overrides any anxiety to keep you there. Like, nah, this is fucking cool. I'm going to be here.
Yeah, I always feel like, once that music starts and everybody starts jumping around, you just kind of, you do get lost in it.
Yeah.
You do. So.
And I'm special. What was the time frame when you first started going to shows? Like, was it like 80s, late 80s?
So,
90s?
So my first show that I went to was, I think it was in 83. My mom brought me to Iron Maiden.
Okay.
Yeah. So Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, and my mom went with me because she was like, "You're not going to this by yourself," And then after that, I started just taking the bus and going to shows like by myself with my friends and stuff. So it's probably around like 14. I started working in a record store, which was great, like at around 15. And
you had the inside scoop.
Getting into all those shows for free. It was great. Like we'd go to L'Amour's, we'd go to Sundance on Long Island, and I'd bring the ticket money. So come on in. I bring that magic bag.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Yeah. When you still had to like be at places to you couldn't buy stuff online. You had to go into a physical store and buy a ticket or pay at the door. There was no
there was no, there was no online. There was no, and somehow we just knew where the shows were, and we knew where to go, and we knew where to show up, and Yeah, and you had to go to the show so you could find out when the next thing was. Like, exactly.
Because then someone would have a flyer or whatnot.
Yeah, those flyers were really important back then.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think? And by the way, just as an aside, your first show was way cooler than mine. Just like my first show, the same thing my father brought me was Billy Squier and Rat.
Well, okay, but Rat,
Rat's all right.
That was good. That was good stuff.
He just Stephen Percy just played at the Vault in New Bedford where we're having our party.
Okay.
He just played there like last week.
How was he?
I didn't go.
Okay. All right. Because I heard he's had some like ups and downs.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't need to relive it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then my that and the Fresh Festival, which was like the Fat Boys and Dougie Fresh and Run DMC.
Okay.
Those were my first shows. And then my second one was cooler though. But my second rock show was cool. It was Motley Crew at during that Shout at the Devil tour.
Oh, okay. Was that with Ozzy Osbourne?
No, it was their own.
Oh, it was their own.
And
okay.
they weren't playing. It wasn't like a because I think when it was with Ozzy, there was like stadium shows.
Yep.
I saw
Yeah,
him at a theater.
Oh, wow.
Like a 30
Okay.
show, like a 400-person theater show.
Oh, wow, cool.
I was still a kid. I'd like to go back to some shows now as an adult where I feel like I could process it better than
Yeah, and just remember
being
it
a
better,
kid.
you know?
Although it was probably way cooler as a kid, way more like fantastic than it would be as a jaded middle-aged fucking fucker right now, you know what I mean?
I know, I'm right there with you.
But how did you find your way? It's always interesting, like how someone, because we all started with the Black Sabbath, all that stuff, Iron Maidens, Ozzy, and then somehow we find our way into the heavier stuff. Like, how did you make your way? And I know you said you went into like the thrash area first, and then kind of found your way into like punk and hardcore stuff. Like how did you like go from like listening to Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and how did you find your way into like the hardcore stuff?
I still like listen to all that.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah,
it was just, like I said, it's like my gateway was that Cro-Mags show.
Yeah.
And
So you were there for Anthrax?
Yeah,
And
it was Anthrax, Metal Church, and Cro-Mags.
Okay.
And it was just that. But you know what? Actually, even I should say, like before that, I was listening to things like DOA and. That was Black Flag. There was like,
the big ones.
Yeah, there was the big ones in, in my orbit, So, and also listening, and working at the record store too, listening to a lot of that. But,
was there someone that showed you though? Like, how did you it's just it's
I
always
remember my
interesting.
friend Ron coming in with like a DOA. I think it was DOA on 45.
Okay, yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God, what the hell is this? This is so crazy. This is so crazy. But just buying some of those records and everything was a big thing. But I feel like, coming into hardcore as a metal kid was a little bit difficult back then because I feel like
there was more of a line in the sand.
Back in the 80s, it was very tribal.
Yeah.
So it was like you were either into this or into that.
Yeah.
If you had long hair, you were on this side, and if you had a shaved head, you were on this side.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit frustrating. Going to shows like I had been to CBGB's like once or twice. That was always a bit of a trek and stuff. We went to like the Right Track Inn and Sundance to see most of the hardcore shows that we went to. But I think by the time the 90s rolled in, things started getting really rough. And so, like none of my friends really wanted to go, I mean, we certainly didn't want to go and just, watch our other friends getting beat up.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like things started getting a little bit rough.
Isn't it weird how that went? Because I remember that. Like,
I don't even know why. What were we thinking? What was happening? But it just did.
It turned from a different rough though, because like shows in the late 80s. I remember going to like see Slapshot at the Rat in Boston.
Yeah.
And the whole place was swinging. Like you couldn't be like you had to like if you didn't want to be involved in the show, you had to be in the other room where the bar was, and you could look over. But the whole place, kids hanging from the ceiling, kicking people in the head, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it was like, but the whole place was going. But it wasn't. This is as dumb as it sounds. It was extreme like violence, but it wasn't directed violence.
Right.
I feel like in the 90s, it started to get a little more directed and targeted.
Yeah, I think so as well.
It seemed a little bit like that.
Yeah, I think so as well. So it was just not fun, and it began to like really play on my fears and stuff like that. So it was just like I think I just want to sit home and listen to this record at home.
Yeah.
But I loved bands like coming out of Long Island, there were bands like Vision of Disorder. There was all these like really really cool bands coming out. Madball and but things that I just. I don't know. I couldn't bring myself going, because it was just crazy. It was just crazy. And I think, I kind of felt like, oh, am I getting too old for this? Like when I was like 22, thinking, am I getting too old for this?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a weird time, and then, I went to university. I got into science research and, just adopted like sort of like a different kind of life, I got married. I was thinking I'll probably have kids, we moved around a lot. So, but it was something that I always kind of missed. I think it was something that always kind of was there. And then it became more important to me because I think hardcore is more relatable to me, whereas a lot of heavy metal is more fantasy.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Besides just going on lyrical content and imagery, absolutely. And then, metal seems to be a little more technical. Hardcore is more feeling.
Yes,
so maybe
exactly.
It's maybe not as technically proficient, we're talking about 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
because now there's not like a big line in the sand technically, like between what
so
I'm like, is this band hardcore? It's like basically you have to look at the people and it's like, okay, it's a hardcore band, it's not a metal band. It's back to if they got long hair, it's metal. If it's short hair, it's probably hardcore.
Yeah.
But probably, but not but whatever.
But not always.
Yeah, but like just a lot of hardcore sounds like metal and vice versa. But I remember that like something you had said resonated because I remember the 80s. There was definitely lines in the sand. Yeah. Like between, it was like, all right, those are death metal dudes. Those are hardcore
right,
dudes.
and you can't be this and you can't be that and you can't be into this and you can't be into that.
But I remember it so vividly. I remember the death metal dudes like trying to go to hardcore shows and then acting like idiots.
Yeah, well.
And they didn't know. They didn't know. Like, but it was just different cultures. It was like, no, this is how we do it. You guys do it like that. This is before everything blended. But, through a lot of the shows that would be more mixed things, things worked themselves out with that. But I remember that I tell people that I'm like, it wasn't always cool. Like if you went to a death metal show and you were like a hardcore kid, like you were going to probably get pummeled and vice versa. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also remember being an antagonizer too.
Sure. Listen, we were all idiots.
Yeah,
we were all
of course.
Kids,
I remember going to Morbid Angel. And me and my friend, but we went in like whole Puma like suits, like the Adidas suits, but we had the Puma ones, and we were like breakdancing in the pit just to antagonize everyone. And then when people would start with us, we just start hammering dudes. And I'm like, we got the advantage. You got long hair. I just got something to grab, But
yeah,
young and dumb, like And I apologize. Yeah. And but yeah, so yeah, it was definitely marked differences. For better or for worse, it was just what it was.
Right, and I remember also like at the hardcore shows, there was a dwindling population of women as well. Yeah. So I think the boys kind of took over for a while as well in the 90s.
Do you feel that was because of the violence, or?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just speaking for my community.
Sure.
Maybe in California it was great all the time. And there was tons of ladies all the time. Whereas, when you went to metal shows, you had, a lot of girls there into metal. Like, I think, and also in, metal bands, women were always well represented.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that in hardcore. I don't know why, because I don't think that there was any conspiracy to keep them out. I think it was just... I don't know. I wish we could do like a psychological study of why, people are drawn to different types of music.
Yeah.
Like, culture has a lot to do with it. What your friends are listening to, where you grow up, have a lot to do with it. But then when you strip all that away as adults, like we're still into hardcore.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't, I
was going to get into that line of questioning.
Should we be listening to Kenny G right now? I mean, smooth jazz.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, we still like this stuff,
Yeah.
So you strip all that away, and psychologically, that is what, resonates to us, because it's really more than just music, isn't it?
Absolutely.
There's
a whole world or a whole community. And it's so big now that there's like 5 different hardcore like communities or more, you know what I mean? I'm just saying it's just like, it's a weird thing, right? Because when we were kids getting into it, there was only a few years ahead of us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So now there's like 40 years of hardcore music and punk rock music.
But that 3 years was a big difference when you were a kid. If you're 15 and you got 18-year-old kids, you know, it's huge. It's like a big world of difference.
I just think like now if there's a kid getting into it who's like 15, they got 40-something years. They're going to never know. Like, like I remember being, like I said, I got into the mid-'80s. I'm like, I was so pissed that I missed the stuff from 81, 82. Like, I missed the SSDs. Or like, I could have, or I saw.
Minor Threat, or something.
I saw the FUs, but it was like basically they were already Straw Dogs at that point. They were playing all the metal stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I missed all that first wave of stuff.
Right.
And I was so mad about it, you know, and it was like always probably played up in my head like how awesome it probably was. But, you know, and you hear about those like the old A7 shows and stuff, but there was only 30, 40 people there, but it was so tight knit, you know? Like,
well, there was only 30, 40 people there, but now there was 500. Like 500 people claim to be there.
I know, of course, yeah, like anything. But like I wasn't there, you know, so I'm going to say it, you know, like why would I say that? I wish I was there.
Me too.
That was my biggest thing. But, you know, it was weird, but, you know, the scenes change, but there's always that underlying thing that unifies it or keeps it together. Like
that continuity.
The continuity. So, you know, I remember the Youth Crew stuff came out and some of the older punk people were like, what the fuck is that? You know, they didn't like it. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of gravitated to, like, because that was what was coming up, like when I was like, Warzone, Side by Side, all that stuff we talked about, you know, earlier, Slapshot, you know. And then 90s came and hardcore started going different ways. But then there was also like that whole other scene. Like I feel like Burn was a gateway to like to a different like to like then into another Quicksand and and all that stuff. And that never really resonated with me because I was like I was like a purist like hardcore kid. You know what I mean? I was like I like my metal. I like my hardcore and whatever that is, it's cool, but it's not me. It doesn't resonate with me. But I know a lot of people are all into all that. And I'm not saying Burn. Burn was like I liked Burn, but then after that, like the things that came after that wasn't really my thing. You know, and it's just wasn't my thing. But then there was that scene which was kind of crossed over to the hardcore, but they went their own way. We had bands around here like Chill Mark and stuff that did that type of stuff, and I don't even know what you'd call it. Like, it's just. I
think there was, you know, it was like post-hardcore.
Yeah.
Or, you know, because they didn't know what else to say.
Whatever.
Like, it's just post.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
We were hardcore kids. Now we're doing experimental stuff.
Yeah.
And we're doing that. Cool.
Right.
But yeah. So the scene divided. And some kids went that way. Some kids went into that like more whatever targeted violent way. Or some people went whatever. But I feel like there was. It's weird because that timeline. I get it because. I went to school as well, and then all that stuff going on, I felt a little more detached. I never got out of it, but you know, I felt a little more detached, and then I got back more into it later when I was done with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it did like get cyclical because I remember even coming back and AF shows, there'd only be like 40 people there.
Yeah.
And then it, you know, and then all that stuff picked back up. But I think the long thing we're talking about though is like, if some kid gets into it now, how are they going to know Victim in Pain? Because they got to go through like 40 years of stuff before they even get to that record.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're starting there anymore. Like stuff that was new or young stuff to us is now the old school stuff. Like
I know, like the
our
90s.
stuff is like legit, like oldies. You know what I mean?
The 90s were as 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Listen, you know, think about getting into rock and roll in the 80s, and you got to go back to the 50s.
Yeah.
You know,
think about how different that music.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
I know.
But
isn't that like a reality check or like an age
like,
check
oh my
or something?
God. I know, but I just tell myself, I'm like, okay, well, I'm at least still cool because I don't think my grandmother would have gone to a hardcore show at, you know.
Look,
so.
I remember my grandmother's 50th birthday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like,
I know.
I'm there. And I don't feel like it, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like people age different now. Like if
they
you
do, absolutely.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And also, you know, the fact that we're still doing this, even though we've gone and done professional stuff outside, you know, in our regular lives. I don't know. There's a Peter Pan element to all this where I think it keeps you young a little bit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. If it's not my phone, it's my nose. I just realized like I'm like sniffing into the
No, it's all right.
into the microphone.
It's okay.
I have allergies, people.
Oh, it's crazy today.
Yeah, it is so nasty out.
Oh, it's
so
the worst.
nasty. You could see it floating in the air.
I know, and I had to mow this lawn, and I was like, shit, I went to Walgreens before and bought allergy medicine, popped one of those pills before I mowed the lawn, because I was like,
yeah,
crazy.
I'm on Sudafed right now too, so.
I got the Claritin stuff or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. But anyway, so, you know, it's interesting, you know, you say like the 40 years and the generational differences and stuff, you know, when we do on the Barry Electric shows with Drew Stone, we've done one, we got another one coming up this summer. You know, you've got like all these generations of kids. I mean, I'm old enough to be their their mom.
Mother,
like no problem, I mean, so, and I just, sometimes I like, oh, this is really great. Look at, we're all here together, the young kids, the continuity, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh, I feel so sorry for these kids because like they're hanging out with people their parents' age into the same music. And they must be like, what the fuck?
Get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. You fucking old people.
But with that said, I'm not going to be at a Turnstile show or just whatever. And then there's no disrespect. It's just not my thing. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't see a ton of them at like a AF show. You know what I mean? And it's just, and I'm not saying, I'm not doing that to be divisive. I'm just saying they got their own scene.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
and
fantastic.
it's cool. And they should.
They should. Absolutely.
They should. I just think that some of them should reach out to someone like and be at an AF show to see that, because who knows how long AF's going to keep playing.
Right.
They're going to keep playing forever. But you know what I mean? Like, you just never know. Like, it's a cool time because there's like, I never thought when I was a kid I'd see Negative Approach.
Yeah.
Now I've seen them like 8 times.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, when I was a kid, I was so pissed that it was like my life's goal to see Negative Approach.
Or 7 Seconds.
Yeah. I did see them, but I saw them the first time when they were a little new windish. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, and then actually it was just 7 Seconds and Negative Approach just played a couple weeks ago.
I saw you there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But it's just crazy. Like, I can't imagine like what it's like to be a kid. And I wonder if it's like, I got to find like a young hardcore kid and get them on so I can is it overwhelming, or do you guys probably don't even care? It's probably not even on that radar.
Like that's old man hardcore,
old man hardcore.
Maybe.
Dadcore or whatever they call it.
Momcore. We have
Momcore,
Momcore. We call it Momcore,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, but the thing is we can get grumpy in our own, ways too. I mean, a lot of times I'll listen to like a new, band and I'll think, they sound like Agnostic Front. I'm just going to go home and listen to Agnostic Front because, because that's what I like.
That's
right?
what you resonate
just listen to the same stuff over and over again. And it's definitely the same thing with any music, that I have, thrash metal and whatever. But, that's why I like running Women of the Pit, because it forces me to listen to like new music, especially like, there's a lot of great women bands out there. So, bands with, female members. So it's been great, to do. And
I know you said you have women from all over that are part of it. Is it good varied age range too? Like, do you got?
I would say it's definitely like top heavy, like over 30.
Okay.
Over 40 for sure, because like the young girls, they have their own scene and it's different for them, they don't have a problem going to shows with the boys and, so yeah, I think it's a little bit like top heavy, like as far as the age range goes, which is fine, because that's really, how we started, just being like a, sort of like a link up type thing. So, I think
you need someone to pass the torch to.
Exactly. I think those young girls are watching, and it's great to see a lot of the young girls in bands now.
Sure.
So it's fantastic. We like to support them. And, we started putting on shows so that we can showcase, it's all about representation. You want more girls to be in bands. Sure. Well, you got to show more girl bands. So,
absolutely.
We just had Rampage Fest back in April, where we had I think they call themselves Crossfire now. We had Fright, so we had Ma'afa. So we always try to make sure we get some some diversity on the bill. We also had a show up in Brockton where we had Dog Eat Dog, Kings Never Die, Car Bomb Parade, Wisdom and War. So, I mean, they're an amazing band. So, they were all amazing bands. It was a great lineup.
You guys got to do a compilation record or something soon.
Oh my God, I would love to do that. So
enough people where you could talk to someone, get Chris on board. Shout out Chris Bridgenine or something,
Yeah,
what I mean?
Oh my God, I would love Chris, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Let's do it, with all,
but
like diverse
you guys
bands.
present it,
Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, we were really excited about the A7 Back to the Roots.
Yeah, that was cool.
Compilation that was Drew Stone and Pitchfork put that out.
I just referenced that in the commercials earlier.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad that you did that, because I wanted to talk about that record. That was an awesome record. It was very exciting for us to have, they had 17 bands, and I think 3 of them, had women in them. It was Reaching Out, Necrotic Society, and Car Bomb Parade. And, when you think about it statistically, they probably could have had, it's probably somewhere like 40 to 1 or 50 to 1, maybe even higher statistically speaking. So the fact that they had like 17 bands and they chose 3 was incredibly exciting for us to, be represented. And, you think about all the compilation albums that people, listen to and still talk about, this is Boston, not LA, or, this is hardcore. People are still talking about those records 40 years later.
Yeah.
So you think about it, like 40 years from now, there'll be some other people will be, in nursing homes and whatever, and they'll be,
We're closer to that than we are to going to our first shows. That's what's fucking crazy.
We might be dead by then.
Yeah.
Let's just say 30 years. But there'll be somebody saying, I picked up a guitar because I heard, Necrotic Society, or I picked up a bass because I heard Murph and Car Bomb, So, kids are being influenced by things like that, by that representation. So it's really cool.
Yeah. It's like I said, this doesn't die, which is cool. And I know I keep thinking like I keep getting Hoya's new thing in my head, like he has those lifer hats and shirts and stuff, and I'm like, it's crazy to me the number of people that are our age range that are still in this, like in some way, shape, or form. Like I go to a show and people I saw when I was a kid, still there.
Yeah.
I think it's fucking awesome. Like, what do you think has kept you, like, because I know you had your journey and we can talk more about that, like where you moved around, went to school, this and that. What do you think? I always ask people this question, or I always mean to, like, what keeps you here? What brings you back? And even overcoming all your anxiety and all that, that's huge. Like, to override that.
I know, just everything that I went through to get back to going to shows. Just not getting too deep into things, but I went through kind of like a car, my life was kind of a little bit of a car wreck a couple of years ago. So, and the one thing that, you always go back to when you're at those emotional lows is music. And, you find comfort in it. You find the connection. It's almost like a therapy. And, being at the shows it's healing. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's like to an outsider be like, that is an absolute chaotic mess. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
But it's just like, no, you don't understand. Like, I go back to these shows and I'm like 16 again. And, all my problems today do not exist.
Yeah.
So it was that drive. It was, even though it was like the most awkward thing in the world to like walk into places by myself, once that music kicked in and everybody was jumping around, the only thing I feel is just like joy.
Yeah. The energy and joy,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing is like, there's not much in life that get me all that amped up anymore. And it's still, my favorite thing too is just like rediscovering a record I forgot about, and you hear it and you're like, it just hits you with so much, floods you with so much sensory overload. Yes. You get that lump in your throat and it goes down in your stomach. You're like, I totally forgot about this. Like,
it's like this was the soundtrack to my, to my 17th year of life. So
and the thing is when you listen to the words to a lot of those stuff, it's still relevant. It's not. You know what I mean? Like you said, metal and stuff is a little more fantastic.
Exactly.
Fantasy. Shit. Like, which is cool. You know what I mean? But like, hardcore is street music. Like,
and you understand like when they're talking about unity and brotherhood and unfortunately losing people, we're going through that now,
absolutely.
So it's
every week.
Yeah, I know it's tough. So it's just that one constant, that one thing that just, it just connects you and it brings you back. And it's, I don't know how many more adjectives. I think of the word comforting.
Yeah,
so.
No, I get it. And you've been around, I've been around like long enough to see the changing of the tide and people come and go. I feel bad for people that left, like, but I don't, because it was probably never really, maybe they got what they needed from it and left, you know what I mean? Like, I just think that whatever this is beyond just the music is so powerful that it keeps people here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is either. That's why I like to ask people about it. And I like having people that have been on into all this for a long time, because it's like, it just shows the power of it and like the realness of it.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, because Gina was another one who, Gina helps me. So basically Women of the Pit is run by sort of like an organization.
Yeah.
We have like a planning board. We don't like to call ourselves, leaders or whatever. I call myself the organizer,
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Right. The central scrutinizer. So.
Unfortunately, organizations, especially as they grow, has to have some kind of structure to keep it cool and keep it kind of on track to what it was supposed to be.
So everybody's just not running off in a billion different directions.
Yeah.
So, but no, I have like a little planning committee and, people that help me out, so that I'm very grateful for, of course. But so, Gina's kind of in the trenches with me. She's a great organizer as well. So, and, she stepped back from it because, she was raising her daughters.
Yeah.
So the same thing with like Daniela Page, she stepped back because she was like raising her son, like everybody steps, some people need to step back, for a time, we can't always, we can't all be, going to shows every weekend and things like that. So, but we're still listening, we're still connected, but we're just kind of like on the outskirts of it.
There's regular life to contend with, and sometimes there's not. And then there's sometimes where there's 2-3 years where you can't go to a show even if you wanted to, because the world is shut down in bananas.
Oh my God, it's so insane.
But coming out of that now.
Out of that is like I'm a different person. Coming out of that, I never want to miss another show ever again.
I know. But I'm also overwhelmed in a way, and I'm like, it was also comforting where I didn't miss anything because there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
And now it's like everybody, we know so many people in bands, and like even with motorcycle shows and whatnot, everyone's trying to do shit now.
Oh,
and
the world's exploding.
And so now it's like you have to make choices. Like, oh shit, there's 3 things going on tonight. What the fuck do I do? Like, how do I make this decision? Or like, all right, these guys are playing here, these guys are staying here, which one do I do?
I know. And like people are like rescheduling their tours, and like they're rescheduling like 2 days apart from each other. Like there was like, what was it? Death Angel, Exodus Testament. And then like a couple of days later, there was like, Agnostic Front, Sick of It All. And then and then actually before that, there was the Madball show. I was just like, oh my God, it was just crazy.
It's
that
too
week.
much,
Like, I did try to go to all of it though.
Of course, yeah. I only missed the park show because I went to the first park show, but I missed the last one just because of a funeral. Like, as we said, people are going. But yeah, you got to make decisions now. Like, and it's different now as an adult. Like I was like, man, I wish I was 18 again with limited responsibility and I could like drive all over the place.
Yeah, I missed the first park show. Actually, I missed both shows because like my daughter's birthday and my husband's birthday are a day apart from each other, and it's always on that weekend. So I'm like, okay, but next weekend I think it might be on the 22nd, so I might be able to make it.
Oh, you got to play the calendar games for where
exactly. Where's the leap year? So, but I went to the show. So the first show back after the lockdown was that Madball show in Providence.
Yeah, I was
there. So the night before, it was like Reason to Fight.
And it was funny. It was funny because you could tell people were still like
should I hugged everybody. I was like, screw it. I'm like going for it, So that was like before anybody was even like vaccinated or whatever. But I just wanted to hug people so badly. I didn't care.
It was bizarre because it was funny to see just Madball playing in a parking lot, like not even no stage or nothing. Like
that was really special. Though.
Like enjoy that because you ain't gonna see that again for a long time. You know what I mean? And limited number of people there, and it was just kind of crack the shell of getting people back into things. And then,
absolutely.
And then the park show was like
insane
the next day or whatever. And, was it?
It was the next day.
Yeah, it was the next day. Yeah. I was at both, but I couldn't. I'm at that age where everything's like a blur. Like I remember things.
Like,
but
wait, what's happening?
When was it? Yeah, I remember I was there. Yeah, but like, was it the next day? Yeah.
I know, it's crazy.
There's so much. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was really special, and I remember thinking, like there's a lot of closeness and there's a lot of shouting and there's a lot of hugging and hardcore, So I was like, oh, am I going to hug people? Like, are people going to hug? And it's just like, yeah, people were hugging. It was nice. It was good to see everybody again. So,
yeah, absolutely.
When you're deprived of something, I think it makes you realize how special everything is. So,
yeah, I think, and this is like not to be like doom and gloom or whatever, but I feel like one thing that made hardcore like special to us when we were younger was the world was different and it was a lot more gnarly than it is now. And sometimes half the adventure was even just getting to the show. People thought the show was dangerous. It was getting into that show, everything that you had to deal with before you even got to the fucking show.
Well, if you go back to New York City now, you know, it's just as dangerous.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I think kids now are going to have more of an appreciation like we did if they stay in it, because cities are getting more
rough.
They're getting more grimy again. We're coming out of that age where everything was nice. And
I used to love that Agnostic Front song. I miss the old New York, and I'm like, I don't know if I really missed it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like the safe New York.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But you know, it was cool. Did you go to the bowl?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So, that part of Brooklyn felt, even though it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was fine. Like
it was fine, but it felt. I was like, this looks like New York, grimy, just dead rats on the ground, graffiti everywhere.
There was a bunch of dead frogs too. I was like, where's that coming from?
Oh, maybe that's was it right in the middle of the street?
Yeah.
There was like 40 or 50 of them, right? Yeah. We were driving up to that, and we were in Packer's truck. And we were looking down, we're like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, I think that's dead rats. And
I think they were frogs.
Yeah.
I think they were frogs. Somebody posted a photo.
And either way, he was like, I'm not riding over that. We took it around. I was like, dude, you're going to bring the plague back to Boston. You know, like.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I parked my car and I was just like, all right, well, let's just see what happens. You know, thank God I got insurance.
Yeah.
Whatever. But no, I came out. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I think the funniest thing is we were at that bar that was around the corner, Anchor Inn, which is, shout out to Anchor Inn. They took care of us all weekend. But we went in there. The first day was quiet. We got there Friday and we were there, and all the bartenders were really cool. The owner was really cool. She knew Jimmy. And so she was like, and Jimmy was on the phone with us saying, hey, is this guy there? Is this guy? And she was like, who's Truth? And I was like, right here. And she's like, Jimmy says blah, blah, blah. And like, you know, and they were hooking us up. So shout out to Anchor Inn in Brooklyn. If you're ever in Brooklyn, go to that bar. That's a cool punk rock bar. But anyway, the next day, we went back in, and I think kind of the more, lack of a better term, more of the hipstery crowd was there.
Yep.
And they all left because they were freaked out. And it's like, oh, God forbid fucking punk rock people or hardcore people go into the fucking punk rock bar with all you know, they got like Coxbar flyers hanging up and shit. Like, God forbid, you know what I mean? Like, they were like, but they were like literally leaving. They were like eyes wide, like, what the fuck is all this? Like,
what's going on?
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Like, yeah. And they literally were fleeing. But like, I think I used to, like, you still live in New York. Like, it's, daytime crime is coming back in New York. So fucking, you know, you better stop bucking it up. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to, you know, but whatever.
Yeah, they're going to have to get tough.
Yeah. I remember my favorite thing from back then, two things. When I was 16, me and my friend Pat Burke, we did a zine together in Boston, but we took the bus from Boston to New York to go see Sheer Terror and the Nihilistics at CB's. And we did the whole, like, I told my father I was staying at Pat's house. Pat said he was staying at my house.
We did that too.
Then we got on the bus to New York City. I like, you know, like, I can't, like, I don't know. Like, I hope this 16-year-old is still getting out there and doing adventurous shit like that. Sorry, I got a hair in my mouth. But
okay.
Fucking beard problems. But I remember, so we got out there and we slept in the Port Authority. Yep. We waited for the bus the next morning, the first bus.
Wow.
And but just getting to the show, and then we slept in the Port Authority, and they literally shut down part of it because they found like a head in the locker or something. And I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, we're gonna do this like Vietnam style or whatever. I'm like, I want to sleep for 2 hours. You stay up, and like, then we'll switch. We'll do you know, watches.
Yeah.
And,
oh my gosh.
And then my old band played at ABC No Rio back in the day, and we were driving through Spanish Harlem. And I just remember there was a dude in a trench coat and a beret on the corner with a Uzi, and he had like a pile of money at his feet, like bricked up money, like wrapped up, bricked up money. And everyone's like, look at that. And I was like, don't look at that.
Yeah, just
fucking
keep
look
walking.
forward.
Well,
no, we were in the car. And I was like, look forward. Don't look at that motherfucker, dude. Like, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not up to any good on the corner in broad daylight holding a fucking, it was either Uzi or Mac 11, one of those little submachine gun hand things. And, But yeah, like that was that type of shit.
Oh, definitely.
On a regular occurrence going to
Definitely.
shows, especially in New York, even more so than Boston. You had to deal with like towny Red Sox dudes that just wanted to fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
New
But
York had like
you
more.
can
It was
end
way
up
more sketchy.
as a head in a locker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have this thing where we would go in and, joking around, we'd be like, okay, tonight Andrea's the sacrifice, whatever. Like, we're all going to just run and she's the slow one, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, it would be okay to go into the city as long as you were faster than your friends,
Yeah.
Like, so if you can just outrun your friends, you'll survive,
It's like that
so
Red
it's like
Bull
whoever,
commercial.
right. It's like the slow antelope, it's like, they have no they have no chance.
Yeah. There's a Red Bull commercial with an antelope or whatever. And they were like, he's like, you're not going to run faster than the tiger. He's like, I don't have to. I just have to run faster than you. It's two
Right,
antelope
exactly.
or whatever talking. I just have to run faster than you. Yeah. Yeah,
So.
I was never the speediest. I was just stand your ground and fight guy. I was like, I got to learn how to fight because I ain't running. Like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, or I
Yeah,
can,
no.
but I can't run fast.
Yeah. I'm tiny, so that's all I got. I got to run. My spirit animal is a chipmunk.
Yeah, there you go.
So, do we get a bathroom break?
Oh, yeah, I can pause this. Hold on. Okay, we're back from urine break.
A bio break.
Bio break. Is that the proper nomenclature for that?
Sounds
now?
nicer,
Sounds nice.
like just a bio break.
So speaking of bio stuff, like, and I've almost finished this whole Smart Water in a C4 energy drink. So
I'm
that's
drinking
what I do.
iced tea, so
Okay. There you go. But you said you had quit, not quit going to shows, but you'd stopped going to shows for a little while because you went to university and you
moved around a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same thing. So I'm interested in hearing a little more about that. What did you study, and did you work in that field after you?
Yes. So I studied biochemistry.
Okay.
And then I went to work in.
Hence bio break.
Yes, hence bio break. And then I went to work in a research lab. So I started out as a biochemist. And I ended up working, actually now I work at the National Xenopus Resource Center, which is a large stock center for Xenopus. They're African clawed frogs.
Okay.
So I work with 10,000 frogs. And yeah, it's totally cool. And basically what we do is, we just we collaborate with other researchers, and we set up projects and stuff like that through the center. So that's what I do. Yep.
But and just forgive my dumbness or naivety of this, but to what end? Like, what are you doing with 10,000 frogs?
What are we doing with 10,000 frogs? So Xenopus frogs are a great model for human disease. So
Okay.
a lot of researchers, they'll study like spinal cord injuries or things like that, different things. Like for a while I was studying in frogs, I was studying pancreas development, which sounds very random, but frogs have pancreas and
Sure.
we have pancreases. So I was studying how the pancreas formed from its earliest. So it would have it's basic research, but once you know the genes in the pathway that are responsible for the growth of pancreas, you can maybe identify what genes then get overexpressed in cancer situations or things that shut off in diabetics situations. So, it's basic research that would then lend to, answers to, problems that we have in human disease. And, now we're developing different things with CRISPR-Cas9 technology, gene editing, and all that scary stuff. So.
Yeah, CRISPR's a big thing now.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
So can I have one blue eye and one red
Sure,
eye yet?
sure.
Can you give me one albino pink eye and one? I don't know if that's the wrong nomenclature. Sorry if I didn't mean to offend the albino community. If there's a better word, I'm sorry.
No, I think it's albino.
Okay,
so we use albino.
I'm just playing. The hardcore it's a new era of hardcore, a very sensitive era.
Yes, it is.
Which I meant to talk about when you brought up Drew and Cause for Alarm. I cannot believe that kids were trying to say Cause for Alarm was whatever. I was like, have you ever listened to a Cause for Alarm record? And for one, it's all mixed people. Any New York hardcore band, it's you're gonna have a Puerto Rican guy, a white guy, a Jewish guy, maybe a black guy, or gal or whatever. You know what I mean? It's how, what planet are you on where you think Cause for Alarm is is
I know, but like
is anything but inclusive. Yeah,
I know, but like I remember having conversations with my grandma, and I'm not going to repeat the words that she used to use, and she meant nothing by them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, nothing by them at all. And I would just be like, "Oh my God, Grandma, we don't say that anymore."
Yeah.
So, that's where we are. We're the old grumpy people who say the wrong things. So.
Yeah, well, just follow Paul Bearer on Instagram or Twitter for a little bit and see that.
I feel so politically correct and sensitive after listening to him. I'm like, yay, I'm not so bad.
Yeah, but and the thing is he kind of is. You know what I mean?
I know he is the nicest guy.
Yeah.
He's the nicest
he just says
guy.
stuff. It's like, have you never been to a shit terror show? He says inflammatory things on purpose, kidding around. Joking around
to make people laugh,
or to get people upset, like in a funny way. You know what I mean? Just to rile you up. He's a roustabout.
Right, and his girl is part of our, Women of the Pit. So
part of the crew.
Yeah, she's part of the crew.
Yeah.
Shout out to Julie. So she's a sweetheart. So
yeah. So is that why you moved around a lot for research?
For
work?
research, yeah. So my husband did his postdoc over in Bath, England, and then we were in Montreal. So and now we're on Cape Cod. So that's where the resource. That's where the frogs are.
That's where the frogs are.
We moved where the frogs are.
Follow the frogs.
Follow the frogs.
So when he was doing his work in Bath, did you work out there too?
Yes. So yeah, we were both.
I don't know.
We were both in our working in a frog lab as well. So
in Bath, England.
Yeah. In Bath.
I'm ignorant of Bath. How is that?
Oh, Bath, England is gorgeous. You got to go. It's really. I mean.
What's it near?
I'm going to ask a silly question. Are you into Jane Austen at all?
Did you see? I just glazed over. I'm trying to.
I love that I asked that question in a motorcycle shop.
Maybe I don't know.
English romance, novelist, But anyway, no, Bath University, the city of Bath is, her stomping grounds and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful Georgian city. The architecture is amazing. It's called Bath because the Romans went there and built baths.
Okay.
When they, the short time that they occupied England. So, it's just a beautiful, beautiful city architecturally.
Is there still Roman ruins?
Yeah, there's still Roman baths there. And they actually, for the Millennial Project in 2000, they fixed them up so that could, so you can actually, I think you can still go in them again.
Oh, yeah?
So you couldn't before without getting deathly ill, but now you can. They've cleaned up a little bit.
They've detoxified it.
Yeah, all the bacteria, whatever. So
it's good. That's thousands years of
filth,
human funk. Yeah, built up.
Yeah, exactly.
Catch some old disease that hasn't been around in 400 years. Because that's funny. Because our timeline is so different than European timelines. Like our history is like. Listen,
I was living in a house over there that was 200 years old. Yeah, so it's like, oh, this is as old as my country. It was beautiful being over there, seeing, the ruins and the castles from like 2,000 years old. And, I would just look at them and be like, how did they get everything so straight, without cranes and, but they did.
Yeah. It seems like people were onto some stuff that we forgot about. And then, we're going about things different now, but it just, especially when you go to anything that was like a wonder of the world type of thing. Yeah. Not even just, and I'm not downplaying like castles in Europe, but I'm just saying like good pyramids or like, wherever, you know what I mean? It's like, how the hell, no one can still figure that out.
Well, those are the aliens, but.
Yeah, it was the aliens, The Anunnaki.
Absolutely.
Just dropping bombs for people to be like, they know what's up.
We just want to drop little nuggets here.
But yeah, so, Europe is, the thing is, America has like areas that are beautiful. Like Europe does too, but there's very different.
Yeah, it's kind of next level. It's there's something amazing about walking around in a even if you're not a spiritual person or anything like that, walking around in a church that has stood for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So,
same, like I did that when
or
I went
among
to
ruins,
Notre Dame or whatever. I was like, I'm not a religious person, but you go in there and you're like, all right, you got to give it up. I mean, before the fire, like these motherfuckers were about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
To
they were
do
pretty
this, like,
serious about this.
Yeah, they were serious. Yeah. So you got to give them that level of dedication and skill and craftsmanship and belief or whatever to fuel that level of architecture and art. But
and the catacombs in France too.
I got to go to that still. That's on the list of things I need to see.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of them, and their dedication to skulls and bones and stuff is just bananas. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
My favorite thing is when I lived in Geneva for a little while, and just taking the train through the Alps and shit, like holy shit, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I've been there too. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I always said I'm going to give a shout out to the town of Zug, Switzerland. I'm coming there sometime. I'm buying a house when this podcast takes off. So
this might be the one.
Go to my Patreon and sign up so I can buy a house in Zug, Switzerland. But yeah, no, I'm just all kidding aside. So when you were out there in like Bath and whatnot, did you ever look up shows, or was there just nothing going on?
Like I said, it would have been just me going by myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did look up shows and then would feel sorry for myself about it, and and I didn't have the benefit of social media.
Yeah.
So I would just be sad that I was missing it.
Yeah. And you couldn't drag your guy along?
I dragged him I would drag him twice a year if possible. It would always be my Christmas present or my birthday present.
All right.
And I remember the last time I did it, it was an Overkill show, and he was in the back, and he just had like his hands over his ears, and he looked up at me and he's like, I can't do this again. So I was like, all right, yeah. So if you're not into it, it's like, it's just craziness, it's just craziness. Although I did get him to go to a punk show out on Cape Cod. They started doing punk shows again in Hyannis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
they're gonna make the Freeze play.
Yeah, so Chris from Dead Low, they do this. They've been doing these shows at this arcade out there, little tiny place, but they pack it. I mean, like, January was the first show.
Like proper arcade, like video game?
Oh, yeah. I lose like tons of money in Gallagher every time I go, yeah.
Yeah, hockey.
Yeah, they have like the, Pac-Man and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Like vintage, like a throwback.
Oh, yeah, it's all
throwback.
vintage. It's all vintage.
There's a place, my buddy Adam owns a place like that in New Bedford, and it's called Play, and it's just an old vintage
It's awesome.
arcade,
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I am so uncoordinated at things like that, though, but I love playing anyway. I mean, there was this one time I was playing in there, and my hand was on the, like the player 1, player 2 instead of the fire button. And some guy literally walked over and he's like, your hands is in the wrong. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. Because I was wondering why my little guy wasn't shooting. But we started doing, we started having some punk shows out there. We got, they've got one actually coming up this Friday that I'm excited about. So, that's a little bit of hope for the
Give a shout out to the show. This show will be out on Wednesday, so people got 2 days to get it together and get down
All right. So, it is the retro, I think it's the, oh God, I'm going to mess this up. It's the Retro Bar and Grill in Hyannis. And I know that Dead Low is playing, but I don't know the other bands. So just look it up on, look it up on Facebook. Actually, Facebook, there's a Cape Cod hardcore networking page. So
all right,
you can look it up there. So.
All you Cape Codders, get over there.
Yeah.
And even if you're anywhere in New England, just
it's
take
cool.
a ride.
You don't have to cross the bridge, so it's all right.
Oh, it's before the? Oh yeah, it's Hyannis. Yeah, all right.
It's Hyannis. It's awesome.
That brain freeze right there. Yeah. But yeah, cool. Like so you where would you say you lived in Canada?
Yeah. So I was also over in Montreal, and there was some great shows coming through there, and that was horrible.
Yeah, because that's a major market.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I didn't have the benefit of like even watching it on social media when I came to Cape Cod. Through the magic of Instagram and stuff like that, I would sit home and just watch the videos and stuff. And one night I was following this girl. And I didn't know it was a girl, actually. I was just following this person that was putting up videos, and then they put up a selfie, and I was just like, wow, those women look my age. And it turned out to be, now my friends Kelly and Cubby, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to follow them on Instagram like a weirdo, and hopefully, see them at a show or something like that, you know. And I did. I saw them. I saw them at one of the shows. I was there by myself. but I was too afraid to go up to them because I was like, what if they think I'm weird, you know? But
those old anxieties coming back.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm like a 40-something-year-old woman at the time, and I was like, shit, you know, I just got to like just get over it and do it. But yeah, I did finally get up the courage, and like they're like the nicest people. Like everybody, you know, around here is like, and there's tons of women in Boston that go to shows.
Yeah.
You know, there's like so much more than what I ever remembered. So I think that they always had a very, you know, viable, you know, scene here.
There's always a
women
presence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like you said, even back in the day when maybe there wasn't as many women in bands, there was still a lot of girls that were like there, get involved somehow. Like they were photographers.
Absolutely.
They were contributing. They were making zines, and
absolutely,
that's what the beauty of like hardcore and punk stuff was, and metal and all that stuff was like it was all DIY stuff. So people were involved. However, like running record labels, like the first record we ever did was on Overkill Records out of Seattle, and it was Ron and Kirsten, and they were doing a label together. So there's always been a high level of involvement.
Absolutely, and you know, like you said, like they were promoters and they were you know, photographers, and you know, I mean, band girlfriends are the you know, they, you know, the biggest roles there, you know, that you're driving. I dated a drummer. I remember, like, you know, driving the shit to the show, and then
you had the worst. You had the worst situation.
Yeah, I know.
All
oh my
that
God,
equipment,
I still have nightmares over those little wing nuts. You know, like what do you mean you don't have your wing nuts? So, you know, and then you were collecting money at the door, and you were selling the merch and stuff like that. So, you know, it was. There was always a role, you know. Yeah,
and it was not even just roles, just the presence and
exactly.
people being involved, and there was always. That's what was cool about hardcore is that like if you just walked into a show, you were like, "This is fucking mayhem. These people are fucking psycho." Like fucking
absolutely,
everyone here is a sadomasochist that just wants to fight, and then but you talk to people, everyone was just working their shit out.
Right.
That's was like, I don't feel like any of us got into this shit because we were like well-adjusted people that live in great lives, you know. Like a lot of people came from like broken backgrounds, and that's where we found each other. We found our thing, and you know, like 9 times out of 10, you just go talk to someone. It's a shared interest, and there's already like a common bond there,
right?
You know, and most people are cool. Not everyone, obviously, you know, but for the most part, people are cool, and we're still from the age where like. If you saw someone walking down the street with like a shirt on, you were like, "Hey, what's up?" Yeah, because there wasn't a lot of us, and you needed allies because it's like, "Oh, you going to that show? All right, let's go together just in case some bullshit happens." You know what I mean? And it was like, you know, you know, so it was cool, like, you know, and I don't know. I think that's part of what keeps us here, like, it's because it was always like a home or whatever.
Right. But you did run into those kids, like when you were younger, you did run into those kids, you know. Now when you're older and like you're working at your job, you know, you can't turn to Mary and be like, hey, you know, you want to go to, you know, you want to go to like Agnostic Front with me tonight?
Yeah, so when you started coming back to shows, you were I'm just kidding when I say this, but you were creeping on some people that were posting.
No, you could totally say that. I was totally creeping on these people, and I felt like I was like, this is like some single white female shit right here.
It's also some like, you know, like going back to like childhood, like like just watching the
Yeah, exactly. You know, and the thing is, because I know that they would laugh their asses off. Of course, you know, like knowing this, but you know, and I think I've told them. You know, but yeah, you know, just being like, okay, there they are. Should I, what should I say? Blah, blah, blah. You know, my friend. So actually though, I got the guts when I was there with my friend Andrea, because she was up from New York, and she was like, you're going over there and you're talking to those people because I'm sick and tired of hearing you bitch about not going to shows.
Yeah.
You know, so, but
she has old New York sensibilities.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Go fucking do it.
Yeah, I don't want to hear you crying. Like, just fucking do it. So, so I fucking did it. And they were the nicest people. I met a bunch of people that night. And I remember the next show, it was like an Agnostic Front show. And they were all there again. And so as soon as I walked in, it was like, hey, you know, like, are you here by yourself? And I was like, yeah, go to shows by myself, and they're like, oh, let's exchange numbers and blah 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 blah. I wanted to cry, but I felt like that would have been an awkward moment. But yeah, it was so nice that that happened. And after that, I still found myself occasionally at shows by myself because we all we're adults and we all have whatever. So after I started the Women of the Pit group, I found myself I'm like preaching to everybody. I'm like, just go up to women at shows and come on, you can do it. We're all like, it's the sisterhood. We're all together. We're going to reach out. You see somebody by yourself, ask her to come over and hang and this and that. We're going to do this. And then I found myself alone at a show. It was at dusk. I think it was Sheer Terror.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit, there's nobody here. I'm going to get murdered. Everybody here looks really murdery, because I have that in my head.
Everyone's murdery.
It's that chipmunk thing in me, I'm just like, oh my God, everybody's going to kill me. Yeah. And, I went to, there's a line at the bathroom. So that always gives you a chance to kind of like, small talk with people.
Break the ice, yeah.
Right, exactly. So there was a girl there, Susan. Hi, Susan. Thank you. And I just started talking to her, and then I just got over myself and I just said, hey, I'm here by myself. You mind if I just kind of hang with you and your friends? And she was just like, oh my God, totally, and I had like the best time with them, so you just have to kind of,
It's just funny how those things from like childhood still carry over.
Yeah.
But now you guys have this worldwide network.
Right,
so you don't got to worry about it anymore.
So like wherever I go, and we have that, we have women who are just like, hey, I just moved to, Florida. Who's here? Hey, I just, I'm going to this show, at the Black and Blue Bowl. Jay flew out from California, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to meet one of my friends there, but who else is going to be there?
Yeah.
So we all met her there, and it was great. It was great. It's like kindred spirits, it's like meeting somebody on the same vibration, you know what I'm saying? So it's you just know you're gonna get along on some level. Like maybe you're not gonna be like the best of friends, but hey, there's the music and something that, like I said, something in your psychology that drew you to hardcore. So you have that common bond. So
and even like it sounds like even if you have like some kind of sensitivity or anxiety about shows, at least it's someone you go and you know there's gonna be other people there you can hang with, so you don't worried about being in the corner.
Absolutely. Like you're not like, going off onto, because like you said, there are different levels and there are different things that women have to worry about, so it's not only like, what do I do with my arms, but is something bad going to happen to me on my way to my car?
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Unfortunately, it sucks. And it's, it's not something everyone has to think about. But that's what makes it cool that you guys are all banding together. So, you know what I mean? Like,
and I think a lot of venues and people are more sensitive to that nowadays anyway. Like a lot, some of the places that I go into, they'll have like in the ladies' room, like if you feel threatened or unsafe or whatever, blah, 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 come to one of the bouncers and, whatever.
Sure.
I don't think, I've never seen it happen at a hardcore show. I think people are pretty like mellow and, just into the music and whatever. But, I kind of like that because I was like, wow, if I feel kind of creeped out about walking to my car, maybe I could just,
Yeah. Well, that's one of the beauties of hardcore too, is that it's a self-policing community a lot of times.
That's why.
So even though people are like brutal animals, they're not going to take any weirdness.
There's a line.
If someone's being a little weird or like scumbaggy, those people usually don't last long.
Exactly.
As long as it's in a functioning scene that takes care of itself.
Exactly. You still got
not every place.
You got to watch out at the mall, at the supermarket. I've heard some crazy ass stories about the produce section. But I think at hardcore shows, I think they're pretty safe inside as far as that goes.
It's weird to say because it's like you feel safe at a place where people are jumping on each other and swinging on each other.
I'm definitely more worried about getting kicked in the face than
of course
having my ass grabbed. For sure, for sure. Like
exactly
1,000 times over.
Yeah. And that's what's always been cool is that it's, even though it's been like people that are, savages, it's still pretty respectful, like in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I can't say that for everybody or every scene or every time, but most of the people I know would never tolerate that stuff happening.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, like the guys like girls being there. Let's face it, So they are very respectful. People have been very respectful of our movement and our our things. So, yeah, it's been really nice.
Yeah. one thing we haven't talked about is your ceramics and your artistry. I'm looking at this ceramic bat. Awesome. What got you into, like, I know you're still doing your research stuff. Like, what made you go start a whole artistic endeavor and company?
So, I started out wanting to go to art school when I was in high school, but, it's a lot of money. And, I wanted to go, to a school in the city. It was very fancy. And, I ended up, what we couldn't afford, which was at, community college. So I took my art classes and, but then I started taking science classes because, and just not having any direction, thinking, what am I going to do with art? And I really loved science. So I actually almost got a minor in art, but I just went full on into science. I didn't want to go for the extra credits. But art was always like kind of a part of my world. I always liked creating things, and I liked metalworking and things like that. But, I like the pliability of clay. So that's how I got into it. I just started taking some classes and stuff. And now it's gotten to the point where I actually have gone part-time at my lab job so that I can dedicate more time to ceramics. So right before the pandemic happened, I had a brick and mortar shop with 7 other artists that, kind of tanked. So I was like, all right, door closed, where's the window? So, and I started a shanty right on my property because I live right on a main road. So I just, put up a shanty and it's pink. And I just sell my stuff out of there now. So
is there operating hours or is it like by appointment or?
So I have a Ring doorbell.
Okay.
So you just ring it, and I'm usually like either, in there or in my, in my studio. But during the summertime, so I was supposed to open it up this weekend. I'll probably open it up tomorrow. So, and then it'll be operational, until it gets too cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like what's the array of things that you could create?
So
for people, I mean, I know we need a visual component to it, but I mean, like,
go to my Instagram.
Yeah. I want you to shout all that stuff out.
Yeah.
Too.
So, I'm inspired by, I like skulls and Halloween, music, things like Day of the Dead. So I do wall pieces. All my pottery, it's more ceramics. Yeah. It's non-functional. Decorative stuff. So I do wall pieces and I do like little ceramics like that. I do shows and everything, but I like working just right out of my shanties so it's nice.
Yeah.
Just have it right there,
And it's smart because like your overhead, you're already paying your rent on your house or mortgage. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, it was crazy. Like the brick and mortar was crazy.
I know.
So, with the insurance and everything else, it was just nuts. And then the pandemic hit. So it was just like,
Yeah. It sucked. I think without starting to get political with that stuff, like,
no, please do.
U.S. Yeah. And I always get like people are like, you gotta rant more. And I'm like,
let's get canceled.
I don't want to do that. But long story short, 40 to 50% of all U.S. small businesses were permanently went out of business, just wiped out.
Yep.
People don't understand, and I'm not expecting people to, but people that work regular 9-to-5 jobs for a company or whatever aren't gonna really grasp that until it's too late, unfortunately. Yeah. And if no one's seeing the writing on the wall, like if the middle class collapses, everything fucking collapses. Like, and over the term of COVID, there's never been a bigger transfer of wealth in all of recorded history.
And the middle class is standing in their way. So I think it's all a plan, but
yeah, I mean, who knows? But the middle class is getting severely weakened, and
absolutely,
And don't fool yourself. There's no party that represents us, left or right. D or R does not represent the middle class. There is no lobby that truly represents the middle class. And these, Washington, maybe not your local politicians, but definitely Washington. They're all bought and paid for by lobbyists. And don't fool yourself and think any other way. Don't think that because someone's a D or someone's an R, they really represent you. They don't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you do, you're foolish. Like, you know what I mean? And, that's my little...
we could do a whole podcast on this.
I know.
I'm like getting all like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Now we're getting into it.
I know.
But that stable middle class is, well, if you ever question, the importance of it, just go to, a third world nation, and that's what they're lacking. They're lacking an educated middle class.
And go there and take notes, because we're going to, if the shit don't change, we're going to be there very shortly. Like it's escalating. And there's only so much that can be done. Like there's only so much more they can squeeze out of us. Like as a business owner, I'm looking at how much more everything costs. I can't pass all that on.
No.
And it's getting insane out there.
Yeah.
And people, like, the tax system is so corrupted. And like, that's why when we were young, you looked at your grandparents and like one person could work and support a family of 4.
Yep.
Now both people are working probably multiple jobs.
Yep.
To keep shit afloat.
Right.
And that's not how it's supposed to be. But when you look at how much of your money actually you make and how much you get, and you can't just look at state tax and federal income tax. You got to look at all the things that are taxes that aren't called taxes.
Right.
Licensures, certificate, whatever you need. Oh, you need registration. You need to pay this tax and that tax and excise tax and sales tax and gas tax and blah, blah, blah.
It's all to break everybody down. So they're just breaking it down, so then they can save us through technology.
Yep. And I'm not even going to get into the weird stuff like you see that guy Klaus from Germany that's like one of the big reset guys. And there was like this video of him, and if you zoom in, there was like a Lenin bust right behind him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know. Everyone's going to be like, all right, they're putting the tinfoil hats on, let's go. But you know what? I'm not, I'm not into like the David Icke reptilian conspiracy stuff.
I'm not into it either, but I find
it's fun to watch.
immensely entertaining.
Yes,
And every year in November, I'm like, don't worry, the lizard people already chose. They already chose.
They've already chose. Yeah, they chose at the where do they worship the owl god?
Yeah, I tell all my friends, I'm like, you look at the eyes of like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and what is it, Bill Gates? They all look the same. Those eyes, they're weird. Don't tell me they're not lizards.
Yeah, no, but all jokes aside, it's like you don't have to believe in this shit. Just follow the money trails. It's bananas. Exactly. And during COVID, if you didn't see that stuff where there was that woman, she was a Dutch woman, and she was breaking it all down. Did you see that video where she was showing you live? She wasn't playing on the computer. She was like, okay, let's look at all these media companies. Who owns these media companies? Okay. Now, who owns these pharmaceutical companies? And it's the same motherfuckers.
And it was all going to the same thing.
There's 2 or 3 investment firms. I'm not going to say their names on here, and I'm not worried. But there's 2 or 3 investment firms that pretty much own everything in the world.
Right.
For the most part, not everything, but every big thing.
Right.
And it's like, you don't think they're playing games? Yeah. Like you're crazy.
No, exactly.
There's a level, and I'm all about capitalism, but there's a level of greed where capitalism doesn't work because it gets unchecked.
And with every system, like social, every type of political system, you have to go and look at the end and see, okay, well, what happens when corruption happens?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, what's the best one? Because they're all going to be corrupt.
Yeah, and you get these unfettered multinational corporations that have more money than some small countries.
Exactly.
And you think they're in your best interest?
Right.
They're just and there's these things with like now like there's like this tenet of like never ending growth. Like a company could profit $5 billion this year.
Right.
Next year, to keep the shareholders happy, they have to profit more than that. Yeah. When's enough enough? When's enough enough? And then you got Amazon not paying taxes.
I know.
Even on local levels.
I got some of my friends calling me like a bleeding heart liberal because I want them to pay 1% tax. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You know how much I pay, motherfucker? Like, fuck you.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I pay every year. And like I'm paying.
I pay corporate tax.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm sure you do on your art.
So the fact that I'm paying every year, I'm like, I just paid more tax than Amazon did this year.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Anybody with a job that gets a W-2 pays more than Amazon. Well, you can make fucking $8 an hour and work 4 hours a week. You just paid more tax than fucking Amazon did. That's not right. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But yeah.
And then this motherfucker is turning around and he's just buying into the next disaster. What's the next disaster going to be? What's the next disaster?
Well, that's the Microsoft.
They're buying up the farmland, people.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Look into that. Like keep an eye on this monkeypox bullshit, because that's the next wave of dumb shit
Total
that's
bullshit.
coming. It's like, and if you look right now, you can overlay the map of where monkeypox has been found, and then you overlay it with a UN map. It's only UN countries where monkeypox is showing up. But
it's interesting. But right before the pandemic, I read a book called Lab 257. It's about Plum Island.
Yeah.
Have you ever read it? It's a great book.
I didn't read that book, but
highly recommends it. Yeah, Plum Island. Yeah, highly recommends it. And, they talk about, West Nile disease and Lyme disease and, Dutch wasting disease that affected the ducks on Long Island. There's no duck industry on Long Island anymore. It used to be like their largest industry, and now it's like gone. Huh. So it's just like, and they were researching it at Plum Island. But, oh no, it wasn't a lab leak. No. So, and the guy talks about like, what's the first rule in biowarfare? An antidote. So, you think about that. Just think about that. So.
Well, and that's the funniest thing, and it gets me so mad when all these like punk rock kids that was all supposed to be like, think for yourself, question the government, question authority, have just fell so in line. And I'm not talking like, regardless of what your beliefs are around COVID, you still need to have a healthy distrust and questioning of those in power. You got to speak truth to power and question things.
Absolutely.
And no one, like, everyone fell in line with like Pfizer fucking propaganda. I'm like, have you looked at Pfizer's track record? They're like the most egregious. There's so many fucking lawsuits. Like, they're scumbags. Like, they're just out for money. They do not care about your health. And as a matter of fact, they want to keep you sick, because when you're sick, that's when they get paid. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's why you think there's going to be 7 fucking booster shots. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're fucking nuts. And and I always got to preface it. I am not like saying COVID isn't a real thing.
No, it's
I'm
real.
Just saying,
it's absolutely real.
But also understand it's a real thing that has been made into profit. You know what I mean? It's been incentivized and profitized. There's a better word for profitized that I'm
absolutely. I do that all the time too. I make up words.
I'm just making it up.
I make up words. So, but no, you're absolutely right. And it was a real thing. It was devastating, but people were rubbing their hands together. They were rubbing their hands together, and they were happy about it. And
what it should do is show how unprepared everybody is. If it was some real shit, like some heavy shit, like you study biology stuff, like like the crazy stuff that could really.
Absolutely,
And I'm not downplaying COVID, because it did affect some people worse than others, but like it wasn't like how it was sold to us when they were at the beginning, when they were showing us people randomly dying on the street, standing in the subway in fucking Shanghai or whatever. Like, not one person randomly died on the streets of the United States from it. Like, as far as I saw no video of that. And then all of a sudden those videos went away, down the road. But it's when something's being forced down your throat and being backed by fear, have a healthy distrust of that, because fear is a big motivator and a big propaganda tool like you've never seen. What I mean?
Absolutely. Like, all you have to do is you go, 10 o'clock news and just switch from channel to channel. And it's like
saying the same thing,
with the same adjectives.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
Well, did you see that video where someone pieced together the whole thing, like a whole 3-minute report? It was like every single news. They're just reading scripts.
Yeah.
And then you look at who owns those news companies.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, the same people that own the pharmaceutical companies that own this and that.
This is the narrative, and this is what we're going to say. So.
And if you go against it, then you are you're a heathen, and you're anti-humanitarian. You're like a whatever, But
I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm like the weirdo, because I'm like, well, what about, smart cities and 5G and cryptocurrency and, the social credit system? Like, come on. Yeah. This is all coming out.
The problem is the biggest upset to me was to show it shows just how many people just fall in line.
Right.
And even from our worlds, like I was so upset, like the whole punk rock community and the motorcycle. These are supposed to be last bastion of, like, for lack of a better word, outlaw. And I'm not saying outlaw, like I mean outlaws, people and outliers that live outside the mainstream, that question shit and are more critical about shit. And half these motherfuckers just fell right in line. And I'm like,
I think, I think this, though, played on people's primal fear of death,
course.
you know, and so I wouldn't judge anybody for getting 50,000 boosters, but don't judge me for,
Not
my
wanting
personal
to do that.
choices. Yeah, exactly. So we all got to do what we got to do. And that's basically my thing.
and,
So,
but that's the whole game, is divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to keep everyone divided. It didn't really work with the race. They tried that with the George Floyd stuff to try and get everyone divided on race. Everyone, maybe for a little bit, but then I think people, they saw that wasn't working. It's like, okay, let's get
we're
people.
going to divide them on this. Yeah.
Vaccine versus anti-vaccine.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, and then it's like so funny is like you see what they do is if you question anything about the vaccine, now you're totally an anti-vaxxer. I'm like, no, like I have a bunch of vaccines. Like, I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm like, I worked in healthcare. The biggest tenet in healthcare is like, especially with experimental things, is informed consent and like HIPAA laws. And when they doing things to avoid informed consent and not telling you everything about what they're doing and putting into you, that should just raise a red flag. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I'm just be like, just think about things a little bit and don't get over your first initial fear reaction or your whatever reaction, like your emotional reaction, and then think about things a little bit logically, and things don't make sense.
Yeah, well, I'm still. I could say this because nobody at my work is going to watch this, but I'm still locked out of my facility. I'm still working at home because I refused to sign an attestation that contained scientific statements that just are not true anymore, that we know not to be true.
Yeah.
So, I refused to sign it, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. And I did get one dose of the J&J because I was like, all right, you know what?
Well, that one's only supposed to be one, right?
It's an attenuated virus, and, it's not like something my body hasn't seen before, so I'm just going to go for it.
And that's coming from
This is coming from a scientist,
informed perspective,
just calm down. My mom got the mRNA. I didn't think it was the end of the world, whatever. But, I just didn't want to sign this attestation and upload my vaccine card to a database. My vaccine card, I know it's on a database for Massachusetts State, but, my work was like, oh, well, we want it to be uploaded to our database. I said, well, why can't you look at the Massachusetts State one?
Yeah.
They said, oh, well, we don't have access to that. I said, exactly. So why the fuck am I going to give you access to?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but that's the thing is,
that's like that's like the hardcore in me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like the like fuck you.
Yeah.
I know that they can. I know what's out there on databases, but the fact that you don't have the access, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't. No.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's just so much craziness. They even got scientists upside down half the time, and like
you can't speak out. You can't
or
speak
health.
out.
Yeah, there were so many people that I know in the health world that would talk about stuff off the record, but they're like, I can't say that at work. Like I'll be fired or I'll whatever.
Yeah,
and it's just like, well, I don't know.
Whatever. I can work from home, so like that's okay.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things going on in the world that people should be aware of and be wary of and be a little worried about and be a little proactive about and stop worrying about dumb shit and I don't know.
Yeah, no. And something, I mean, like, listen, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I tell my friend all the time, I'm like, yeah, well, before they turned us into like transhuman robots and stuff, Neuralinks in our head and all this shit, let's just have fun.
Absolutely.
Let's just have fun.
Yeah. Like, I know like our generation and maybe the generation under us will be all right, but what's going to happen in like 40, 50 years? Like, you know what I mean? How crazy is shit going to be? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably won't be here for that. Well, I don't know. People living longer.
No, they're going to put in, like a Neuralink in your head or whatever. You're just going to be like, you're going to be a severed head, but not in a locker. You're just going to be
like on the
on a
Futurama.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think my head's worth saving, but I don't
Mine
know.
neither.
Yeah. But yeah. So how can people find out more? Well,
About Women of the Pit. Are we getting back to that?
Yeah, well, we should. But also, before we get off the topic, with if people are interested in seeing what you do with ceramics and stuff, like how can people find that?
So I have an Instagram. So it's LoriDawn_art, and you can find me there. So I also have a Facebook page, Lori Dawn Ceramics, and my shop is on Cape Cod in Falmouth, off the Woods Hole Road. So you look for the pink shed.
There you go. And if there are people listening that want to get more involved or find out more about what's going on with Women of the Pit.
So Women of the Pit, so we have our Facebook page, Women of the Pit, and also our IG page. If you want to get more involved, contact me, reach out to me. If you want to do an interview, we do interviews of everybody, not just musicians. And don't say that you're not interesting. Everybody's interesting. So you can also, send in like photos and stories and whatever you want. If you're a band, you want promotions, just reach out to us. We do a worldwide WOTP Wednesdays where we like to feature bands from around the world, not just like the Northeast.
Sure, yeah.
We like to branch out a little bit. So, we got bands from like Poland, Ukraine. We just featured one from Sweden. The best one was from Indonesia. It was so awesome.
There's a crazy scene in Indonesia.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Motorcycles too, like choppers.
I love it, So a band called Disobey, they're great.
Yeah. The guy that drew the American War Machine record cover is from Indonesia.
That was good art too.
Yeah,
I like that one. Yeah, I like that one.
They got a good scene going out there. I haven't been, but we were supposed to play Indonesia, but it just fell through.
Yeah, it's amazing where they have these great places. There's a band called Death Pill from Ukraine that I really liked. There was a band called Cokes from Moscow that's really good. Slant from Korea. Like I'm learning about all these different scenes through researching bands with females in them, so it's really cool. There's that. Just reach out to us. We have a couple of events coming up. So we also have something going on June 11th. So if you cannot make it out to New Bedford and you are local to the New York City area, we are going to be teaming up with New York Hardcore Comics, which is in Dobbs Ferry, New York, which is about 25 minutes out of the city.
Yep.
We're probably going to meet up at the comic shop and then head on over to the next town, which is Ardsley, the Sawmill Tavern, where we're going to be having Kirby Kiss, Extinguish the Code, Ache, Enziguri, and Scarhead. So that's going to be like an amazing show. I can't wait for that. So we're presenting that. And then in August, we have Run Amok Fest. It's the first Run Amok Fest at the Barry Electric. We are putting that on with Drew Stone. He's been a huge support, and we love doing events with him. Headlining that is Leeway.
Cool.
So we got a bunch of bands. We're going to have Necrotic Society, Carbon Parade, RBNX. I'm going to forget them all. But we got 7 bands. Yeah. So
what obviously there's a lot to take in. We're going to have the links to everything on the show notes.
That'll be awesome.
Don't worry about if you're driving. Don't worry about having to write this down. Just later on, go to the show notes and click the links. They'll all be there. Yeah,
and you can just come to our page. Everybody can join our Instagram page, and women, and that we're inclusive of all women. Anybody who identifies as women, can join our Facebook page. So,
all right,
and can join in the fun.
Absolutely. Anything else before we wrap up? We're almost 2 hours here.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah.
It's funny, right? Because when you came in, what are we even talking about? I'm like, don't worry about it.
I'm not going to be able to fill up this space.
No, this train rolls. Like we just talk shit and shit rolls.
Yeah, cool. I just kind of like want to give a shout out to like the rest of my little organizing committee. So my co-creator Daisha. And my right-hand man, Gina. And,
shout out to Gina. We're supposed to... We waited a little... You're supposed to come in on the phone. We tried calling, but I think we missed our window.
I know. So she's a busy lady. She's also like a budding photographer, and I'm like super proud of her as well. So got Elisa, Danielle. Oh my gosh, I hope I don't forget anybody. Shauna and Jess and Krista. And Nancy. So I just want to shout those girls out, and just everybody who contributes onto our page, I'm like super grateful. This is, the community is what they make of it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've made it great.
You provide the structure, and
I'm just providing the structure, right?
Yeah, and then they provide the
content,
the meat.
So, yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, and we look forward to following and seeing all the things you guys do.
Thank you so much. This is great.
All right.
All right. Bye.